Welcome to FYI. I'm Barry ZeVAN, and my guest today is Steve Donofrio. He's with TwinStars. It's a group here in the Twin Cities, actually Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. We say Minnesota because we are seen in other places all over the world, thank goodness, and thanks to CCX Media. We're on YouTube, but Steve, welcome to the show, and please tell us all about what TwinStars is. I know it's a soccer club.
Yeah.
And you also have had quite a life history too. So let's dive in wherever you want to dive.
Well, thank you. Brady, it's just an honor to be here. I really appreciate you taking the time to let me come and speak with you. It's such a blessing for me, and it's so much fun to be here.
Well, the same to you. Thank you.
The Minnesota TwinStars is a local adult men's and women's team. It's been around since mid-2000s. It actually has quite a unique history. And one of the unique things about TwinStars is that we had in the past an academy. Now the academy in our club, our kids have now recently merged with Maplebrook and joined a much bigger, larger academy. We maintain our adult women's team and our adult men's team in the semi-pro, the National Premier Soccer League. In 2010, the Minnesota TwinStars men were actually in the national championships. And as we go forward, we're hoping to bring soccer and local soccer, the new dynamics, to our area, and not just do simple soccer, but showing how. Recently was the World Cup. We just got done with that, and what we want to do is try to use soccer as a tool to unite our community. And there are so many people in our community who love the sport of soccer, and it's a way to bring these folks together. And we see the TwinStars as one of the catalysts or the tools to get people excited about coming out to a soccer match, building relationships. Think about the St. Paul Saints baseball team, the minor league. That's kind of where the TwinStars falls. They are an amateur team. They're semi-pro. They're not professional. But that's kind of the genre of what we want to be. The St. Paul Saints, you might say, of local lower league soccer.
I think it's incredible to see the new soccer stadium being built along I-94 over in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And to see that it actually has taken off like this in this country, because as you know for sure, in every other country it's called football.
Yep.
And justifiably so, because that's all you use are your feet.
Yeah.
But I had a pen pal in England when I was a young teenage boy, and his name was Roy Marsden. He was in Liverpool, and he sent me a rugby football. Now, what's the difference between rugby and soccer?
Well, I mean, rugby is a lot closer to what we know as American football than it is soccer, because in rugby you are throwing, catching, and whereas soccer is simply with your feet at all times. And the rugby structure, I'm not an expert on rugby, I know a little bit about it, is the point system is very close to where football is.
Oh, wow.
Where in American footballs, we have one play, we run it, we stop. Rugby is a continual going for the entire hour. They're going back and forth for the entire hour. There's no pads or equipment in rugby either. It's actually, there's some pretty tough athletes playing rugby. But yeah, they're using their hands. That's closer to American football than they are soccer. And the way I think soccer connects to rugby, it's the continual action. In soccer or football, in soccer it's 90 minutes, 2 45-minute halves, and it's nonstop.
Wow.
So there's no timeouts, no breaks. The athletes are going for 45 minutes. If there is an injury or something stoppage, then that time is actually added to the actual 45 minutes called stoppage time. So the referee on the field will then, you might run up to your 45 minutes, the clock will stop at 45, and then some people actually who aren't familiar with the game will wonder why they keep playing, because official time is kept on the field. So it might be 45 minutes plus an extra 3 or 5 of stoppage time. If there was too many fouls, or if there was an injury, or there was some kind of stoppage, then the ref will add that time. So you'd have your 45 minutes, then you have plus your stoppage time. And that would be the traditional European way. But going back to the stadium, yeah, that's the Minnesota United Football Club. That's our MLS, our Major League Soccer team. And it's really exciting to have, the Major League Soccer team here. It's good for all of us. The hard part about that is a lot of younger players realize they're not going to esteem to that level right away. And locally, leagues like the National Premier Soccer League, where the TwinStars play in, and for the women, the Women's Premier Soccer, the WPSL, the Women's Premier Soccer League, which actually is kind of interesting because it's actually the largest soccer league for women in the world.
Oh my gosh.
It is absolutely phenomenal what they do. It is, so in the women, you have the National Women's Soccer League, NWSL, it's the professional. Tier 2 is the Women's Premier Soccer League. So they are just one tier underneath our pros.
And the WPSL is based here?
Well, it's not based here, but the TwinStars is one of the 2 local teams in that league. So there are 2 local WPSL teams in the Twin Cities.
Well,
and it's really exciting to be part of the largest women's league in the world, actually. The TwinStars, the WPSL, the women's side of the TwinStars is about 3 to 4 years old. We're kind of new, but we've already seen 3 players get professional contracts overseas. So there's 3 women currently playing overseas as professional soccer players that came out of the TwinStars WPSL organization. So we're very proud that it's a bridge or a stepping stone for a lot of young ladies who want to proceed in a career. There's not, professional soccer for women in America is very limited. There are very few professional teams in America, but globally, professional women's soccer continues to grow. So our players have a chance then to get looked at a global scale by being part of the WPSL.
Thinking globally, have you heard any reaction from so many of the other countries, well, Europe or Asia or whatever? Soccer has been around forever. What's their opinion, if you've heard it, about it all of a sudden emerging, all of a sudden in quotes, into the United States? What's their opinion?
Well, I think it depends on who you talk to. There are some who are very positive, excited. There are some who still look at American soccer as, they even call the Major League Soccer retirement league. So it's kind of, a lot of times players are looked at as like, well, if you can't make it anywhere else in the world, this is where you're going to retire as a pro player. So when you're done with the Premier League or done playing in Spain or France or Italy, you just don't have the legs anymore. What do? Well, you come to the U.S., get a lot of money, and you don't have to try as hard, which is some of the philosophy. But at the lower league levels, that's where the growth is really starting to happen. Right now, in the Twin Cities, there are more youth playing soccer than any other sport.
Wow, that's incredible.
That is the number 1 youth sport in the Twin Cities, in the state of Minnesota right now, is soccer for kids.
Now, do they, excuse the ignorance here, but do they play on football fields? I mean,
yeah,
quote, U.S. football fields.
Yeah. Well, they, luckily here, because there's so many different sports, we have the multi-use facilities with the AstroTurf. So it's frustrating for soccer players because there's 8,000 lines on the field. The soccer field is wider and longer, a little bit wider, a little bit longer than a football field. So they'll have the outside. Generally, we'll use the end zone to end, almost end zone to end zone would be like, so it's an extra 20 yards longer. In some cases, some of it's right at that 100-yard mark. The fields can vary. That's the interesting thing about the soccer field is FIFA, the governing body, said your field should be about this size. Mm-hmm. This is as big as it can be, and this is as small as it can be. So anywhere in that radius, go ahead and make your field, which is kind of unique because fields vary in size across the world.
Sure. Within
that parameter.
I've noticed in some television interviews, the coaches for local teams here seem to mostly all be from the United Kingdom or from New Zealand or Australia or wherever. Do we have any U.S. born coaches?
We do have some U.S. coaches. We're getting more and more. But again, when you're talking about professional soccer, it's all about making the money. They are there to make sure the money comes in. They have to prove they're a winning team. So many coaches are brought over from Europe up from Brazil, and globally. We're still doing our best to produce local soccer coaches for the MLS, but a lot of times it's someone who's been transplanted from a European country, who lives here now, but if you can see that actually in the high school levels, you could call almost any club and make a phone call and you will find someone with a British accent or a Scottish or Irish accent leading the group, because they had moved here, they loved the sport so much they need to get involved somewhere. And of course, any youth team that finds someone from England going, hey, I want to coach soccer, yep, come on, you're in. But at the same time, it's really good because it gives that global connection. It's breaking down barriers, it's helping build relationships across the way, especially in our more diverse African populations. Here in Brooklyn Park, for us, that's a really big deal. Brooklyn Park holds the largest African-based adult league in the United States of America.
Wow.
And which is how the TwinStars get involved, because so many of those players came through the TwinStars Academy, and they used to play for the old TwinStars. If you were to spend some time over at Brooklyn Park at Noble Field or Zane Field on a Sunday afternoon, you will see literally nearly 1,000 people watching and or playing soccer on a Sunday afternoon. They have about 12 teams that gather, and they have their league going on. But you can walk out there and just start meeting some of these men on the field and, hey, what's your background? Oh, I played for the TwinStars. I played professional here. I played for the Liberian national team. I'm living here in Brooklyn Park now, and I want to help the younger generation. So the TwinStars men's team is able to connect with these diverse communities and help them transition better into life in America. And that's kind of what soccer does. It's allowing these connections to take place across diverse cultures, diverse populations, because the common ground is soccer. They love the sport so much. And if anybody says, oh, I don't know how to connect with, I've got some friends of African descent, but I don't know how to connect with them. Go to a soccer match. Instantaneous connection.
We know that baseball was invented by Abner Doubleday. By whom was soccer invented, and how long ago?
That is a phenomenal question that I do not know the answer to.
Okay.
I know it was in England.
Okay.
And I know it was I believe it was back in the 1800s, sometime back when. I know that it's very old, but I couldn't put a name on it. I think that's a great question. I'm going to do some research on that, though. It's fascinating. I wish I knew the answer to that.
Well, that's okay. I didn't mean to trap you there.
No, it's fine. It's a great question. I know it was somewhere in England. That's for sure. I just don't know when and who've got that. Which is why England is one of the most popular places for soccer. And I don't know if you followed the World Cup at all, but they were singing a song there when they were going through the World Cup, and they had a song called "Bring It Home." Meaning bring the trophy back to where soccer originated. Unfortunately, they didn't. France took it this year, and
and your son is in the runner-up country now, Croatia.
Yeah, my son just headed out. In fact, I'm still wondering if he's landed yet, but he's on his way to Croatia actually to play soccer. So he's on a team from the United States. It's a select team of people that they selected through a combine, and they'll be playing a series of matches with Croatian Division I and Division II pro teams, and trying to get slots for tryouts and try to get positions on professional clubs in Europe.
We'll get back to soccer again here in a minute, but I want people to know your background. First of all, you're from Richfield, Minnesota.
Yep.
And then you went into the Army.
Yep.
And how did you get interested in soccer?
And we'll go right back. That's a funny question, because I grew up in Richfield and being a typical Minnesota person. Soccer to me back then was, what is this? These guys run around 45 minutes, they score once, and the highlights are a guy almost hitting the net. So he shoots, it comes close, and that's a big deal. So I never was really involved in soccer. In 2000, my family moved to Japan. We were missionaries of an organization called Young Life. Had that contract for a couple years, but just stayed there. I had a business there. I do security consulting on the side. I teach women's personal protection, work with sex trafficking and fitness. So we had a business, and was doing some work as a wedding pastor in Japan for Japanese couples, but had a good business and things were going well. Our son was 1 year old when we moved there. And when he was in 4th or 5th grade, he began to try to find the sport he wanted to fit into. And our local elementary school had a soccer rec program that was convenient and easy. Just walk up the hill 3 times a week, go play soccer where there's no traveling involved. It was fun, pair of shorts and a t-shirt's all he needed for a uniform. It was cost efficient, but he fell in love with the sport. And he got some really good coaching. Japan is a very high level soccer country when it comes to passion and it comes to the type of coaching and development program. So he was able to develop really well and grow through that. And because he was into it, then I became a fan of soccer myself and learned the game from a global perspective and really kind of fell in love with the passionate people and how diverse the communities were. But ended up becoming a big soccer fan through my son.
Well, that's wonderful. And then when you go back to, excuse me, I'm having a little ailment here. So when you got back to the States, did you develop the TwinStars?
No, the TwinStars is the creation of a guy named Yusuf Dabaki. He played for the Moroccan national team, played Division I professional soccer in Europe, Spain, France, Italy. Has a deep, really a long history of culture of soccer. He came back and he started actually with the Hmong community in St. Paul. And he had a team of guys and they were played in their J4 tournament. They won that. They moved it to this area, Maple Grove, Brooklyn Park area. But the philosophy was so many kids in the diverse communities and immigrant communities can't afford some of the expensive teams in our area. He wanted a place where these kids could play. Oh. So he began to, out of his own pocket, just pay it. So he created the Minnesota TwinStars. They entered in then the inaugural year of the National Premier Soccer League. They were one of the first teams in the league. Wow. Going back to the Brooklyn Park guys, if you go there and you ask them, they'll still say they're the reason the TwinStars in the national championship. Because he took a group of young men from here for about 4 or 5 years, and they were tops in the nation for quite some time. Then he went and he took that philosophy, developed the academy, and he grew that. Our academy team, there's something called the Olympic Development Program for young kids, and over almost half of different age groups were TwinStar Academy players. And you can't. It's interesting because all the local NPSL teams, we have the VSLT, they're Hispanic-based team, a lot of Hispanics like that team. VSLT, Minneapolis City Soccer Club, and the TwinStars are 3 local teams. Then we have a team out of Rochester and out of Duluth. That makes up our conference, and that makes up the NPSL North Conference. If you go to every single team, you will find a coach and a player who came through the TwinStars Academy program. Wow. At one time was connected to the Minnesota TwinStars. So Yusuf Darbaki, or the coach, his history and his passion for developing local soccer, that's where it came from. And I was lucky enough to get to know him and his passion and his vision. And so I came on last year to help with community outreach and relationships. And then our vision for next year is to really grow local low league soccer. So we put it, so people can get involved who might have never known soccer. So there's opportunities for volunteers to get involved from all ages. For me, the retirement community, it's the best place for them to get involved is jump in as a volunteer for local soccer, because that's where you can reach the next generation of people in a place where they'll love the sport so much, but now you can help them develop as people, develop professional character, develop some of the skills needed to get into the workforce, to do some things. It's a great way to mentor people who might never get a chance. Like I said, a lot of the diverse communities are out there playing. And a lot of us, and I use us meaning the Caucasian older crowd, sometimes don't connect with that community, but they need the help.
Do you recall what year, and excuse me for if I'm repeating here, do Do you recall what year Yusuf brought that to the Twin Cities?
I think it was 2008, around 2004, 5 was the beginning of it.
Okay.
And then 2008, I think we made the national championships.
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking is I have a friendship with Sam Kaplan, who used to be the ambassador from the United States to Morocco. And it was during that period, and I'm just wondering if Sam might have had any influence on Yusuf to say, hey, bring this to the Twin Cities.
I wonder. Well, he was here himself for a long time.
Oh,
I think his soccer career ended up here, playing somewhere in the United States of America.
I see.
And because when his playing stopped, he began kind of coaching and picking it up.
I see.
So
well, Sam might have been happy about it then.
I bet he would be. I'd love to connect the two of them together.
Yeah, well, that would be possible to do.
That would be fun because, well, and again, since we are local and he's, that would be a fun thing to do one day. I'd love to connect that because this last year's TwinStars team, I think we had a kid from Japan play for us, a guy from France. We had players coming up from Chile and Ecuador. So our team is very diverse.
Right.
I think there was about 8 different languages spoken on our team this last year.
Now, this business of the time added to the 90 minutes, is it time added to 90 minutes for the penalties or whatever, or is it just so that everything is exactly compact into that 90 minutes?
I think, well, it would be time added after the 90 minutes. So it'd be for example, it'd be the 45 minutes.
Okay.
And they're supposed to play for 45 minutes. But if there's stoppage time or the play gets stopped somehow because of an injury, then even though the clock will continue to run until 45, the ref will decide how long we didn't really play, and he'll add that stoppage time to finish it out.
I remember several years ago during World Cup when it was in South Africa, those horns that they blew.
Yes.
And everybody was complaining about that because it was incessant for all the time they were playing. And then I guess at the recent World Cups in Russia, they had brought some of those horns there, but I think they were told, don't blow your horns.
FIFA actually banned those horns after the South Africa Cup. And now they're slowly bringing them back, but because of South Africa, those noise-making devices have been banned from international play.
Oh my goodness.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
They were pretty powerful.
Yeah, you have one of them that's powerful. When you put thousands and thousands of them, you can't hear anything, and that distracts from the enjoyment of the game for everybody.
Oh, yeah. It's a wonder the stadium didn't fall down from the noise. I was worried about that.
Yeah. And we're getting the World Cup in 2026, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, and in what city, do you remember?
It will be, well, it's between, I think it's Mexico, North America, and Canada is sharing.
Oh, I see.
The entire tournament between the two, between the 3 countries. So North America is getting the World Cup.
Do you think, this is kind of a chicken and egg question. Do you think that amateur soccer motivated the pros to want to be here, or did the professional soccer help increase the number of amateur
well,
soccer
I think
clubs?
it's kind of a little bit of both. For us here in Minnesota, we had the Minnesota Kicks back in the day.
I remember, yeah.
And they might have been part of the old NASL, North American Soccer League, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember exactly the history, but that league folded. And then soccer kind of folded and began to pick back up again. So as soccer picked back up, Minnesota had a team called the Minnesota Thunder. That was our local, low league pro team. And the Minnesota Thunder then changed to the Minnesota United, and they were in the Division II North American Soccer League recently. They played at Blaine Stadium, and they were drawing a good 10,000 people toward the end, and that started that movement of, hey, wait a minute, the Twin Cities is a local soccer hub, and that's when the owners of the Minnesota United said, there's enough movement here, there's enough growth in soccer that we can support an MLS team. So pro soccer being there excited the amateur soccer in our lower leagues, and that started bringing up the swell of the amateurs and the kids. enough for the pros to go, yeah, this is a community we can get involved in.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I remember the Kicks were playing at Met Stadium.
Yep, the Kicks are at Met Stadium.
Yeah. I only saw one game. I was sitting farther down toward almost on the field, and that irritated me because I couldn't see anything.
You couldn't see the
That's right. So it's good to be up, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then soccer, but soccer in Europe and everywhere else, it's so community-based. A lot of the soccer clubs, the lower leagues, we're talking to Division 3, 4, and 5, will even have 4,000 or 5,000 loyal fans who will be so supportive of their community. And that's what we're trying to develop with the TwinStars. We're not going to get to 5,000, 6,000 people maybe, but if we could see this next season, 2019 season, run us about 1,000 to 1,500 a match for the men and the women, and then really grow our community close, I think we can do a lot of good things.
When does the season begin and when does it end?
Right now for the NPSL, it's a short summer season. We begin in May and end in the end of July.
Oh, wow.
They are looking to go for a longer season. They're debating that right now, but the league hasn't made the decision.
So what about pro soccer? What's
pro
their
soccer
season
runs
like?
From April until October.
Oh, wow.
So the NPSL and those type of leagues really began as something that the college kids could do in the summer after their college season before their fall season started. So it's a summer league designed for college kids, but it's picked up so much that so many adults and high-level adult soccer players who are not in college are playing now, that it's really becoming this, for example, the Detroit Football Club out of Detroit, Michigan, they have $1 million budget and run about 7,000 to 8,000 people a game, and they're in the same soccer league as the TwinStars.
Wow.
And so it's evolving into that type of group, and that's what we want to see locally here for our community. Like I mentioned at the start, a St. Paul Saints type of atmosphere, where kids can say, look, and families who might not be able to afford a Minnesota United game can always come out to a TwinStars match. And the young women can come and meet some mentors and things like that for our women's league. It's connecting the community with our players and our coaches, and then helping our team give back to our community and bringing our community together through what is known as the beautiful game.
Well, they're lucky to have you as you're the executive director.
No, I'm the marketing and communications guy.
Well, you do great communicating.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been such a blessing again to have a chance to sit down with you and to be here in this forum. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, the same to you, definitely. And Steve has written a book, as have I. Shameless plug time. It's actually a pretty serious book, and people will say, well, my life among the giants is just going to be bragging. My friend in South Africa who read the book said, what I like about the book is not bragging, you're just being grateful for all these great experiences. So if you want to take a look at it, it's on Amazon, My Life Among the Giants, and as I say on the back, Vice President Mondale endorsed it, Sam Donaldson from ABC TV endorsed it, Rudy Maxa from PBS, and so if you take a look at it, I think you'll find a lot of serious stories in there that might be of inspiration to you. Till next time, thanks again to Steve Donofrio.